I never thought a simple weekend getaway would reveal parts of me I didn't know existed, yet here I am. Sophia, a 27-year-old woman from Austin, whose life had always followed a comfortable and predictable path set by society's expectations and the quiet compromises of married life. As I look back on how this journey began, I'm both amazed and oddly free to realize how one unexpected moment can change everything. Make sure to subscribe to my channel so I can continue bringing you more fascinating true stories like this one. And don't forget to watch this video till the end and like the video because this story is going to be incredibly interesting. Please hit the like button to show your support. My husband and I, along with a close couple we've known for years, were invited by our friends Liam and Grace to spend a few days at their countryside home in a small Texan town. It was a change of scenery so different from our busy city lives, promising a refreshing break from the noise of the city and the daily grind. From the moment we arrived at the charming old farmhouse, now updated with modern touches and surrounded by acres of peaceful pastures, the air felt different. It was an invitation to forget about our everyday worries and connect with the natural world. Nature has a way of awakening hidden desires and feelings that you didn't even know were there. It didn't take long for Liam, with a playful sparkle in his eyes and the pride of someone showing off something precious, to take us on a tour of the property. It was during this walk that we came upon a small, humble barn hidden behind a grove of old oak trees. Despite its simple exterior, inside the barn was something that would stir my heart in ways I hadn't expected there. In the soft light of a fading autumn afternoon stood a magnificent horse, a stallion with an air of royalty and eyes that seemed to tell the stories of epic journeys. His name was Apollo, as Liam proudly shared, and from the moment I locked eyes with him, I felt an unusual pull. It was like a part of me recognized something in him, a kindred spirit reflecting hidden desires and unspoken emotions, while everyone else admired his beauty and strength. I couldn't take my eyes off him. It wasn't just his striking features or the grace of his movements that captivated me. It was something deeper, a magnetic pull that promised to take me away from the ordinary and into a world of emotions I had carefully kept hidden in that moment, surrounded by the warm air of the barn and the soft murmurs of my friends. I felt a bold urge to explore my own desires, to seek a secret connection that went beyond what society expected. I realized that the familiar story of my life might be changed by this unexpected encounter, by something or someone who seemed to invite me to step into a world where strength and vulnerability could exist together in a way I had never considered. I remember thinking with a smile that felt both like a secret and an act of rebellion, that sometimes the most powerful awakenings happen in the least expected places to truly live. To live fully, one must be willing to embrace the wild, untamed rhythms of the heart, even if it means stepping into areas that society may see as unconventional or even forbidden. As we settled into the peaceful pace of country life with lazy mornings and evenings stretched out under starry skies, I found myself thinking more and more about the barn, and especially Apollo. This majestic creature seemed to hold the freedom and passion I had been longing for, while my daily routine felt so structured and confined. Every time I stepped into that quiet barn, the outside world seemed to fade away, replaced by a feeling of endless possibilities and a quiet excitement that promised moments of closeness and unspoken connection. As the evening light began to fade, and I stood there, my heart racing in anticipation of what might come next, I realized that this unexpected connection, which had started with a chance meeting and was nurtured by fate, was going to change me in ways I never imagined. Little did I know that this was just the beginning of something extraordinary, a journey that would challenge everything I thought I knew about love, desire, and the many ways we can connect with others. It made me wonder if the most powerful kind of passion comes when we listen to the whispers of our hearts, even when they lead us to unexpected places. In the days that followed my first meeting with Apollo, my world seemed to glow with a new intensity that I couldn't explain or resist. It was a feeling that touched my every thought, making the simple moments of our getaway feel special and full of attraction. Every morning, as the soft light of dawn filled the farmhouse, I would reluctantly leave the warmth of my dreams, and there was an unspoken promise in the air that urged me to find the barn. I wanted to steal moments alone with Apollo, knowing they would be fleeting but powerful and experience his calming presence. During those quiet hours when everything outside was still, I found peace, a temporary escape from the routine of married life where I could truly be myself, free and untamed. I began to organize my day so I could have those stolen moments, making sure each evening was set aside for a visit to the barn. It became a ritual I couldn't live without, as necessary to me as breathing with my heart racing. But patient. I would stand at the entrance of the barn, feeling the cool evening breeze on my skin before stepping inside, treating the space with a quiet respect. The barn was a peaceful retreat filled with the scent of hay and the soft sounds of nature outside and in the center. Apollo stood as magnificent as when we first met, his deep, soulful eyes, and the calm dignity in his stance seemed to recognize me in a way that went beyond just being an animal. His gaze held something more, something that felt like an unspoken connection. I felt an unspoken understanding, a quiet willingness to offer companionship without judgment. As my visits to the barn became more frequent, they took on a comforting and exciting rhythm. I would sit near Apollo, gently stroking his smooth coat and whisper secrets into the quiet of the barn. Secrets I had kept hidden beneath a mask of politeness and social expectations. With every touch and soft word, I felt a deep connection growing between us. It wasn't about physical desire. It was about an emotional bond, a connection that went beyond the ordinary and celebrated, a form of affection that was deep and different from what I had known in those moments. The weight of daily life, the unspoken compromises and the silent expectations seemed to disappear, leaving a clarity and openness I had never experienced before. But as the days passed and the barn's pull on me grew stronger, I also struggled with a mix of emotions, guilt, longing, and a bold excitement that made my heart race. I knew that what I was feeling was more of a deep, almost spiritual connection than anything physical. Yet I couldn't ignore the burden of the secret I carried in the quiet moments of twilight. I felt torn between the comfort of my marital vows and the irresistible pull of something wild and unknown. Many nights I lay awake, my thoughts drifting as the light and shadows played across the room. I thought about the delicate balance I was trying to maintain on those rare nights when sleep wouldn't come. I confessed to my husband that I longed for something more, an intimacy that went beyond the usual routines of our daily life, a closeness that Apollo seemed to offer in his own quiet way. It wasn't about rejecting our life together, but about exploring a part of myself that had been buried for too long. I remember one evening, the air cool and the stars scattered across the sky like whispers of distant dreams, feeling a boldness that had been growing inside me. I told my husband about my desire to spend more time with Apollo. I explained gently that this wasn't about pushing him away, but about discovering something within myself that had been waiting to be awakened. His reaction was a mix of quiet curiosity and concern, a sense that something had changed in me. Though his eyes didn't fully understand the depth of the transformation happening inside me, I reassured him with a smile that was both mysterious and sincere, promising that these moments were for self-reflection and rediscovering who I truly was. In that conversation, I realized that my inner rebellion wasn't against my husband, but a strong need to reclaim every part of myself, even those parts that society might not understand, in the peaceful solitude of the barn, away from the world and its expectations. I found that my connection with Apollo was as much about accepting myself as it was about companionship as I sat beside him, his calm presence offering comfort amidst my swirling thoughts. I began to see the beauty in living authentically, a beauty found in accepting every quiet desire, every gentle touch, and every moment of silent connection that spoke to the deepest parts of me. I knew these moments would eventually fade as our visit came to an end, but I also understood that this unexpected journey would leave a lasting impact. It would stay with me long after we returned to our routine life in Austin. So as I write these words, I share the tender truths that have reshaped who I am inside. I stand at a crossroads of identity and desire, savoring each bittersweet moment that has brought me here. a place where the echoes of Apollo's quiet presence have awakened to courage and vulnerability I once thought were lost. As the golden colors of autumn faded into the deeper, more mysterious tones of early winter, I found myself walking a path that was as much about discovering myself as it was about quietly defying the expectations placed on me with each passing day. This journey began to reshape what it meant to truly experience connection and intimacy in a way that was both different and deeply real. Every moment spent in the peaceful barn with Apollo became a time of reflection on the nature of beauty and vulnerability, a chance to face the contradictions within me. In the stillness of those evenings, when the world outside faded into soft whispers and gentle shadows, I discovered that just being present with another living being, no matter how different from me, could reflect the many layers of my heart. It was one particularly cold evening when the wind brought the smell of pine, and the first frost started to make delicate patterns on the barn's old windows, that I realized how much these encounters had changed me. I remember sitting quietly on a weathered bench near Apollo, his calm eyes fixed on the horizon, as if he were quietly reflecting on life's mysteries alongside me. In that shared stillness, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the clarity these moments gave me. This clarity came from simply reaching out and connecting with a presence that, although not human, felt soothing and liberating in its own way. During these quiet moments, my thoughts often drifted to the conversations I had with my husband Daniel in our rented cottage, sipping chamomile tea together. I would gently share my desire to return to the barn again and again, seeking comfort in Apollo's calm company. I explained this longing not as a replacement for human connection, but as a way to reconnect with a part of myself that had been hidden by routine and expectations. Daniel's responses were often a mix of curiosity and careful understanding. Although he didn't fully grasp the depth of the personal transformation these experiences sparked in me, his quiet acceptance and gentle nods reassured me in those moments. I knew I wasn't leaving behind our shared life, but rather nurturing a part of my soul that had long been neglected. Each evening, as I stepped into the cool air of the barn, the world's worries seemed to fade. The soft sounds of nature filled the air, and Apollo's steady, calm breathing and the warmth he radiated in the chill reminded me that connection can take many forms. Each one, no matter how different, is just as meaningful and deep as the last. I would often trace the intricate patterns of his mane with my fingers, not to cross any boundaries, but as a way of honoring the beauty of existence itself. It was a beauty that went beyond society's labels and spoke to something deeper than just physical attraction. There was something special in these silent moments, an unspoken language shared in glances and gentle gestures that helped me connect with parts of myself that words couldn't express. As the days passed, filled with quiet moments and reflection, I started to notice a change in how I saw myself. My connection with Apollo had become a turning point, a soft but steady breaking down of the rigid ideas I once held. With every visit to the barn, I felt myself letting go of old fears and embracing parts of my femininity that were both delicate and strong. I realized I could be tender and bold at the same time, and that I could express passion without losing who I truly was. It was a quiet transformation unfolding with each shared sunset and every thoughtful moment beneath the vast Texan sky. In these stolen hours, I came to understand that true intimacy isn't just about human relationships. It's a powerful force that can spark, change, and awaken dreams that have long been hidden. The companionship with Apollo, combined with the grace of nature and the timeless rhythm of the earth, taught me that the heart isn't a fixed thing. It's a living, changing part of us, full of untapped wonders waiting to be discovered. I knew that these days of soulful moments would soon come to an end, that I would have to say goodbye to the barn and to Apollo, who had quietly become a part of my journey. But I also knew that the lessons I had learned would stay with me long after our time together ended. As winter's chill began to settle over the land and the day of our departure grew nearer, I sat quietly reflecting on all that had changed in me. I gathered the pieces of this new self, a self that had been awakened by these simple, unconventional moments in the light and shadows and in the soft whispers of the wind. Through the open barn doors, I found a promise that no matter where life took me, I would always cherish the unexpected beauty of connection and the courage to embrace every part of desire, even when it takes me down paths I didn't expect. As our time at the countryside came to a close, I felt a bittersweet sense of closure. It was a reminder that every chapter in life, no matter how unconventional, leaves its mark on our soul. With the autumn leaves now fallen and the first signs of winter appearing in the mornings, the rustic estate felt quiet and sad, as if nature itself was preparing to say goodbye to the fragile moments of renewal that had touched my spirit during this unforgettable break from the familiar rhythms of life in Austin. In those final moments, every visit to the barn felt more meaningful, as if Apollo, with his calm gaze and quiet wisdom, was gently urging me to keep these memories close before they faded away like distant echoes. I found that my daily routine had become a series of small rituals, a soft touch on his velvety muzzle, a quiet word shared in the stillness of dusk and long silences between us. These were unspoken moments that went beyond the ordinary, showing the deep connections that can form when we allow ourselves to embrace all parts of life, no matter how unexpected. On the night before we were to leave, I made one last deliberate trip to the barn. The air was crisp and filled with the scent of wood, smoke, and earth. As I approached Apollo, I felt a wave of gratitude and reflection. I sat by his side on a weathered bench, tracing patterns in the dust that had built up over time, silently thanking him for the clarity and courage he had helped me find. In that sacred moment, the divide between the roles I played, being the dutiful wife, the poised and clever woman who navigated society's expectations, and the raw, unguarded self yearning to experience life, fully dissolved into one. I thought back to the quiet curiosity that had drawn me into the barn during the early days of the retreat, and the realization that true connection isn't limited to the forms we expect. Apollo, in his quiet majesty, had become both a muse and a mirror, reflecting back to me the strength, beauty, and vulnerability that I had long hidden under the weight of routine and societal norms. I understood that the moments we share with beings, whether human or not, can stir a deep passion and a desire to live more authentically. They give us the courage to listen to our hearts, even when those whispers lead us down paths that aren't easy to explain. As I sat there, my thoughts a mix of joy, sadness, and hopeful anticipation for the future. I promised myself that I would carry the lessons of this retreat with me long after we left the estate. I promised to remember that there is beauty in vulnerability, and that the courage to explore the hidden parts of our hearts is what makes life truly worth living. My time with Apollo wasn't about replacing human connections or defying my commitments. It was about reconnecting with a deeper part of myself. That part had been eager to break free from the boundaries of convention and embrace the full range of desires, even if those desires came in the unexpected form of a quiet moment with a noble stallion. That final night, as I said my silent goodbye to the barn, I felt a sense of peaceful acceptance. I leaned close to Apollo, placing my hand gently on his flank, an acknowledgement of our extraordinary bond and a farewell to this chapter of self-discovery. His calm eyes, as always, seemed to understand, reassuring me that the emotions I felt were real and valid, no matter how unconventional they were. When it was time to leave, I stepped out into the cool night with a heart that was both heavy and full of newfound wisdom. The retreat had given me more than just an escape from the familiar world of Austin and the routine of married life. It had taken me on a journey deep into my desires and identity. As we drove away from the estate, the lights of the farmhouse growing smaller in the rearview mirror, I gazed up at the star-filled sky. I silently promised myself to embrace every twist and turn on the road ahead, because in this brief escape, a time filled with beauty, reflection, and an unexpected connection with nature, I had discovered not just a fleeting thrill, but a lasting truth. To live fully is to honor every part of yourself, no matter how unconventional, and to cherish the unexpected connections that guide us through